Thank you very much, Vinod, for this instructive and kind opening words. Following up on the opening words of the rector, I would like to extend a special welcome to all of you on behalf of the faculty board of the Faculty of Theology, as it's still called right now. It will soon be shifted. The name will soon be changed into, as the rector said, Faculty of Religion and Theology. I substitute Professor Ruud Ganzenvoort here, who is our current dean. He's abroad today, so I will take on his duty to welcome you on behalf of the faculty. My name is Gijsbert van den Brink. I'm a professor of theology and science and head of the Department of Beliefs and Practices. And it's a great pleasure and honor to have you all here, gathering around a theme which is not only, as the rector said, fully in line with the aims and the mission of our university, but also, and more in particular, with those of the Faculty of Theology. Back in the 19th century, our faculty started as a training institute for Calvinist ministers in the Reformed Church. Some historians of our past even think that the theological faculty was the very reason for the founding of the Vrije Universiteit, since its founder, Abraham Kuyper, needed well-educated clergy for the church which he was about to erect, segregating from the existing Protestant church in the Netherlands. But other historians think this is gossip, because Kuyper definitely had a much broader view in mind than only wanting to educate theologians and ministers for the church. However, this may be, given the changing cultural and religious conditions of our society in this part of the world, our faculty has been in a process of transition and reorientation, like the university as a whole. Also, our faculty is at the moment in a process of rediscovering itself and its mission, not by leaving behind its past profile, but by adding up to that, by taking on new tasks and facing new challenges. Representatives of almost all the world's main religions have been contacted and have been attracted to have their seminaries and other training institutes adjacent to our faculty, and in that way, the staff of our faculty closely cooperates not only with our colleagues from the Protestant Theological University, some of whom are here as well, and some of the students are here as well. Most welcome to the students in our midst today. Warm welcome. And but also with, for example, Muslim and Buddhist scholars, and also with colleagues from many Christian denominations, Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, but also Baptist and Mennonites and Remonstrants and what have you, and also still Reformed theologians as we used to have. In working together in training students, we work according to a formula which we call the 40-60 rule, and this means that, and this works very well actually, this means that of the 40% of the classes is being taught by faculty from these seminaries of all these traditions which we have, and 60% is taught by faculty staff from the VU University, from the Faculty of Theology. And this faculty, of course, is responsible for the academic quality of the entire program. And in this way, I think we work in a way which is almost tailor-made to fit the requirements of an ever more religiously pluralist society. And in this way, our faculty all in all comprises 315 students and some 70 faculty and staff members. So I tell you all this because if I am at an international conference at some other place in the world, I always enjoy if the host tells us a bit about how the institute is arranged and how things are working at the place where we gather. The Faculty of Theology, which hosts this conference, is divided in two departments. One of them is the department of what we call texts and traditions, and this department comprises biblical scholars, and also religious historians and church historians. And the other department is called Beliefs and Practices, and here we work together with systematic theologians, practical theologians, empirical theologians, but also philosophers of religion, and religious studies specialists of various stripes. It is this Department of Beliefs and Practices which is also the home base of INaSEC, and we are glad to have this institute in our midst. There are two challenging tasks which lie right before us, and actually we are in the midst of them at this moment as a faculty. One of them is the internationalization of our bachelor's program. Of course, our master's program is offered in English already, but we are in a process of also reshuffling the bachelor's program in such a way that international students can follow their bachelor's program entirely in Amsterdam. So if you are back home and you meet some students or upcoming students who are interested and brave enough to study abroad and wanting to go for that endeavor, please feel free to point them to Amsterdam and especially to VU University as a place which they might consider. As of 2020, international students will be able to follow an entire BA program in English. Secondly, we are in a process of opening up to the needs and problems of society out there, as the rector hinted at already. We will not leave our tasks, our traditional tasks with regard to the churches and religious communities behind. On the contrary, we will continue to serve them as well as we did, but we are aiming at broadening our scope so as to include the study of contemporary issues in which religion somehow plays a role, often even a key role. Contemporary issues which we are more and more starting to study and also to teach about include the role of religion in times of ecological destruction. Actually, our dean is at this very moment in Athens for a conference on religion and sustainability issues. We also study the relationship between religion and science, so I myself being a professor of theology and science. We have colleagues who are very well versed and steeped in interreligious dialogue, and another topic which we try to promote is the role of religion in furthering peace and reconciliations in regions which are torn apart by conflict and war. It's here, of course, that there is a fit with the theme of the conference, and we are really very proud of Dr. Katja Tolstaya for her achievement of bringing so many great scholars together who want to study the role of religion in coming to terms with what is called the Gulag legacy. I very much appreciate the strongly interdisciplinary character of this project, and at the same time I'm also grateful that Dr. Tolstaya and her team don't shy away from using the label theology as a kind of umbrella. For definitely, theology seems key here as much as other disciplines. Theology, as I understand it, is not much different from the attempt to make sense of things in light of an ultimate perspective which transcends all our private views and personal opinions. Let's say, to make sense of things from a God's eye point of view. That is, of course, a most challenging and perhaps some of you might say almost grotesque endeavor. But either consciously or subconsciously, we humans, all of us are involved in doing this, in trying to make sense of things from a transcending perspective all the time. So why shouldn't we do it in a conscious and reflective way? But then, of course, the question comes up, how to make sense of things which are utterly senseless, like the dehumanizing atrocities for which the name Gulag has become a catchword. Is this possible at all? Should we even want to do such a thing? But if not, what alternatives do we have in coming to terms with such a past? These questions strike me as so complex and difficult that I'm glad that we have a couple of the most famous religious scholars and theologians in our midst First and foremost, of course, Professor Jürgen Moltmann, I would like to extend a special welcome to you, Professor Moltmann. It's so great that you made it all the way from to being on your age to be in our midst today. Es freut uns sehr, dass Sie hier sind und wir sind Ihnen sehr dankbar, dass Sie den ersten Hauptvortrag geben wollen, dass Sie auf Ihre Alter in unserer Mitte sein wollen. Das zeigt uns, dass das Thema dieser Konferenz sehr angelegen und wichtig und zeitgemäß ist. For those of you who don't know, Professor Moltmann has been famous ever since 1964, I believe, for his keen insight in what is going on in especially Western society, and for his creative capacity to respond to contemporary challenges from a profoundly theological perspective. And therefore, it's a really great honor and privilege to have you here at this conference so many years after the Dutch theologian Arnold van Ruller invited you for the first time to the Netherlands, and the two of you became somehow befriended. This was, I believe, the first lecture ever you gave in the Netherlands on his invitation. It should have been in Utrecht somewhere, I believe. It's more than half a century ago, and I hope you will enjoy being back in our country and in our environment these days. I now pass the floor to Dr. Tolstaya for a more substantial introduction of the theme of the conference.